Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 2002's 28 Days Later, which was directed by Danny Boyle. I'm your co host, Alec.
I'm Eric, and with us is Kyle Castro from the Movie Wars podcast. Kyle, welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, Kyle, thank you so much. I know you were saying that you started your podcast 5 years ago, so in 2020 also?
That's right. Yeah. I think a lot of us were trying to find stuff to do 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's funny. We just had Josh from Four Nerds by Nerds. That's another podcast. It was the same thing. He's like, we started it like the week before COVID, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're a COVID podcast," and he's like, "No, we really aren't. Like, we genuinely aren't, but we definitely are."
Yeah, like you hit the jackpot, dude. That was funny.
Yeah.
It definitely was something I had put off for a long time because I'm such a cheap ass that I knew I wanted to do a pod, but I also knew I didn't want to spend any money. So once the COVID happens, like I'm gonna spend some money, we're all gonna die. So
I mean, it's honestly become like a fun hobby, and like especially for Eric and I, like we grew up together, so it's like I don't know, it's fun to have these conversations as we get older, and like Eric's gotten married, had a kid, all of those things. I've stayed in a studio apartment in LA, but whatever, we both progress in different ways, but it's nice to have. It's nice to have these conversations.
agree.
So what got you guys started? Like who you got two other hosts, right?
Yeah, the format has changed a little bit. So I started it with my two best friends, Drew and Phil. They both got really busy a couple years back. And so what ended up happening was is I took a month or two off. I'm actually a stand-up comedian.
Oh, nice.
I'm a writer as well. I'm actually publishing a book this year. But I have this community of just amazing stand-up comedians. And I kind of had this idea for when I was retooling, and I was like, well, we used to do actual verses. We used to put movies that were similar against each other. And that was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of prep.
Mm.
I do a ton of research, like 10 to 15 hours per movie. And, we could only put out like 2 episodes a month that way. And I wanted to move to a weekly model and I wanted to cover more movies. And so I ended up doing, now we release weekly. And now basically Seth Kays is my co-host. He's a comedian. And then that third spot is always taken by some either national touring comedian, sometimes a filmmaker. But we're gonna have some touring comedians on, but people from Nashville, people from all over do stand up, and they're the most fun to have, man, because the tangents we go on these movies are incredible. So that's kind of the new format.
I do. I love stand up. So that's so cool. I didn't know you were a stand up comedian, man. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, kind of hibernating at the moment. I'm old now. I'm 37 with 4 kids. So
Oh
I
my
kind of
God.
pick my spots, but yeah.
I was gonna say I just went to the Comedy Store in LA on Saturday. I was telling Eric about it before this, but I have heard Nashville's got a scene. Isn't Theo Von down there?
Yeah, Theo's here. And Nate Bargatze lives right outside of town. Steve Byrne now lives
Right.
in Arrington outside of town.
Oh
Yeah.
fuck, dude. That's sick. Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, you must have a lot of material with 4 kids.
I do, man. I do. I mean, I still have a lot of stuff about cannibalism, but I do have some kid stuff too.
Or kids, cannibalism, hand in hand.
Yep.
So this is the first time you've been on the Wheel of Horror. We always like to ask people like, what is your favorite horror film of all time? And I know it's a tough question, so if you don't have one, what's a genre or subgenre that you tend to lean towards?
I kind of have like 3 different answers. I know that's a cop out, but I thought
Yeah.
about this a lot. So I first want to say The Shining, but I also think a lot of people classify that almost more psychological thrill. I think it's horror.
Yeah.
Count as horror. Yeah, it's a horror for sure.
Totally agree.
As well as a psychological thriller, but definitely I'd throw that in horror.
Yeah, and I don't want to be as serious all the time, so I also want to go. I just love Nightmare on Elm Street. I loved all the slasher films growing up, and my favorite is absolutely Freddy. I love New Nightmare. I'm one of the few people that actually love New Nightmare.
Oh, dude, New Nightmare is awesome.
I like New Nightmare. I
Yeah.
like it a lot.
A lot of people hate it. It's weird. I love it.
It broke the like fourth wall before other movies. Yeah, it's crazy.
And that really became Wes Craven's thing between Scream and that and a few of his other films. And then lastly, I just want to throw this out there for Event Horizon.
Oh yeah, we haven't done that yet. If you want to come on for that one, man, we'd love to have you on.
I'd love to. I just don't think that gets brought up. And funny enough, when I don't know if you know this, when they were pitching that film, they always use the hook, right? That's how they pitch a script. They give you a one liner, and that one was "It's The Shining in outer space."
Mm, okay.
So you fell for it since your first favorite was The Shining. Boom.
It is. I mean, and how demented was Sam Neill in that? I mean, it's so graphic. It's so good.
Yeah, it's kind of like all the best parts of Hellraiser too, and but like shoved into space, just demons and portals, and yeah, it's I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's Lawrence Fishburne too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's so good. They should let me do three answers. I'm also finding that horror is just like where creativity exists right now, where Hollywood is dying. So now we got Robert Eggers out there, The Substance. We just this is it's the genre where originality lives right now in a very dire film landscape.
Dude, 100% agree. I mean, it's like the backbone of the film industry right now. I mean, everybody's always talking about the Marvel movies and whatever, Fast and Furious and all that stuff, but something that's remained consistent, especially in the last like 5 or even a little more years, is just these original movies. Not as many remakes and sequels as we saw in the past, and I'm loving it, dude. I'm loving how much good horror's been coming out the last few years.
Yeah, and you don't need a crazy budget to make a good horror movie because the passion is there with everyone involved, where they don't need to like pay huge actors and stuff. They want to be involved in stuff like this, which is so cool.
It's gotten respect in the last few years for sure. Yeah, do you have a recent one that you love, a recent horror film?
Love the Nosferatu remake. I'm not a fan of remakes, but I am a fan of Robert Eggers.
Mm.
I do love The Substance, and going back to early Eggers, man, The Witch is something that got me back into horror. I kind of took a break from it when I started having kids. I got a little more sensitive to it. It was for some reason it was harder to watch Jason Voorhees with a sleeping baby in the next room. But they're all older now, so I've overcome that. And then, but watching The Witch, really like opened my eyes to wow, like this is where we're at. Then you get to Midsommar, films like that where I'm seeing so much creativity. So those are some films that are newer that that aren't 80s slasher films that kind of revitalize my love for the genre.
And I love what Edgar said about that film. He says, "I'll never work with a goat again. The goat was a fucking nightmare." Like that's like my favorite. Like that's to me him in a nutshell.
Well, it's perfect that you're mentioning all these A24 movies because it kind of segues into 28 Days Later. Because Alex Garland, the writer of this film, also wrote and directed Civil War, which came out for A24, and also Ex Machina from 2015. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't seen Ex Machina, Machia or Machnia.
Ex Machina.
I have not seen that. No, I need to though.
It's very good.
Yeah, Eric, it's so good.
Did you cover it on a wheel yet?
No, we haven't done that.
All right, bro. We have so many. Kyle, we have so many. And I just want to say before we get into 28 days later, I always say weeks. 28 days later, it's a goddamn sin we haven't covered this yet, Alec. It's a travesty.
I know. We covered Leprechaun 3, and then I was like, okay, well, I think at this point we need to cover 28 Days Later.
Which the reason why we didn't cover is because we couldn't stream it. You have it on DVD. I don't. And I've been the one who's like, well, I can't stream it. And it just became available to stream like as of December.
Yeah, because you were asking me too, Kyle. You were like, where are you watching it? And I know, dude, these DVDs are hard to find too. I was looking online, like they're all on eBay and Amazon for like $70. So I was like, damn, I didn't realize this is kind of like a rare DVD.
No shit. But renting it for $3, yeah, finally I can do
Mhm.
that now. But that's the reason why we've been talking about this film. Like we need to do this. We did 28 weeks, we didn't do 28 days. And yeah, this is one of my favorites. Like I freaking love this movie.
Yeah. No, this is one of the best zombie movies, I mean, I think of all time. And I know this was in high demand, but we do for guests, Kyle, like, but we honestly do go by the first person that asks. So you were the first person, and everybody else was like, sorry. Like even my dad was like, can I be on this? I was like, sorry, Dad. I'm sorry, but we already have a guest.
I kicked your dad's ass.
I know. So I'm happy that we have you here for this. And what's your history with this series? I mean, I know there's only two, and the new one's coming out soon. But when did you see this for the first time?
I saw this one in college, and thanks for letting me do this one because of the ones you had, I was stoked. I this was one of those college movies. Like Boondock Saints is another example where like there's just movies that like were college year movies that just kind of floated around. And like if you hadn't watched it and you found out someone didn't watch it, like you hit them in the head with a shoe and said you're skipping class, we're watching it today.
Fight Club. That was the one for us.
Yes, Fight Club was definitely that. Yeah. And this was one of those movies, man. And it's so funny watching it originally, and this predates the Walking Dead show. And I bring that up because right now it's a trope. It's become a trope that these movies there are these shows and these movies that are now zombie films or zombie shows are not about zombies, they're about the human condition. which is a nice thing. It's done, but now it's so overplayed because The Walking Dead has been on, and I can't. I just saw the other day they have like 4 more versions of it,
Yeah.
focusing on independent characters. But this film did it in 2002. Before a lot of that really popular culture with zombie films was focusing on, well, humanity's the problem, not the dead cannibals walking around. That wasn't the problem; it was the people.
Hmm.
And this one kind of did that in a different way, and it did it a long time ago. So I always thought it was really interesting. It's now a trope, but I still watch this one and think this one really set the course, kind of the way we interpret zombie films now. Because The Last of Us now, even though that's a different type of virus, they're still, the undead or whatever you want to call them. That show is like 1,000 times that, about the human condition, and people are the problem. So that's kind of my relationship with it. And obviously we have an insanely young Cillian Murphy here. I'm watching him here. I was like, and when this movie came out, I was not thinking, oh, there's a future Oscar winner.
Right. I know.
you know,
Seriously.
so
Yeah.
young Alex Garland. We just covered Dredd. We did the Dredd series. We did Judge Dredd and Dredd. And Alex Garland isn't credited as the director, but he's the faux director of Dredd. He kind of took over after they fired Pete Travis.
Oh, which one? The one with oh my God, the guy from Lord of the Rings?
Urban, yeah, with Carl Urban.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I remember seeing that when it came out.
Really good. So, a lot of people say that's actually his first directorial film before Ex Machina, because he was kind of the faux director after they fired the first one.
Yeah.
So, Garland is a guy I just really appreciate. I didn't love Civil War, I'm not going to lie, but I like a lot of his work. I think he dabbles in some of this really interesting human gray area with his films. Ex Machina is a huge example of that.
Yeah.
I love how he tackles that. So every film, he's going to tackle humanity in a very interesting way.
It's funny you mentioned Civil War, Eric. I know you haven't seen it, but it kind of, I know it's not zombies in Civil War, but it is about like a group of people just kind of like driving in a little car across the country. And I was like, oh shit, this is a little bit like you can see the sprinkles of 28 Days Later in that and just those elements, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this movie, I remember my dad saw it and then he was like, you got to watch it. So I probably saw it when I was like 13 or 14, or right around when it came out. But Eric, when did you see it?
I think like 15 or 16, I
Yeah.
think. And what's cool about this is my first. I've seen it like 3 times, 4 times, but this was my first time watching it after the pandemic. And it after going through COVID and toilet paper, paper towels, it's so wild to see like, wow, we're lucky we didn't get hit with this kind of virus, which it's possible.
Yeah.
That was my thought watching it. I don't know, because it was. I'm a big believer. I don't want to get political, but that COVID was created in the lab and this and that. But yeah, the movie just hits on that kind of virus getting out, and we're living in that world now. It's more reality now than it was when I watched it when I was 16, and when we watched it in 2002, because that was post 9/11 as well. So it's like it's been dystopian ever since 9/11, and it's just crazy to think about. That's all I was thinking about watching this. Is like, man, like we've been through so much.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's definitely yeah, that's the good thing about movies is just the way they grow on you as you age, but then also things that change in culture. You can just like look at them differently. And this movie's definitely one of those. It's funny, I watched this YouTube video about it and like they explained how this virus legit could be real. And I guess there was a prequel comic to this that explained that these scientists like manipulated Ebola, put it into monkeys, and were able to just like amplify the part of the brain that just expresses rage and motor function and basically shut everything else down. And they made a pretty good case for like, this could happen.
Which is terrifying, and Ebola is like the scare. Whenever I hear of an Ebola outbreak, I'm like, oh damn, please no, not now.
Yeah, I mean, it would be insane if this happened, but I mean, who knows? But it's one thing you did say, Kyle. This Eric, I thought you were gonna jump all over this, but The Walking Dead. So yeah, the TV show came out, I think in like 2010, I want to say is the first season.
Same opening.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The comic book series started in 2003. And I know this movie came out in 2002 in England first, and then it came out in America in 2003. And The Walking Dead also came out in 2003. I don't think The Walking Dead stole this. I genuinely think it was just a coincidence, but I want to know what you guys think, if you're even fans of The Walking Dead or not either.
It could have been. I liked the first few seasons. It was really hard after like season 4 when it became like one really crazy action oriented episode, with the next episode being following some B minus character through the woods for an hour, as they contemplated their entire life. Or like, who is this person again? Why do I care
Right.
about what they're thinking
Kyle,
about?
Kyle, say less. I stopped watching season 3 like halfway through. I was like, this show definitely. I know what they're doing. I felt this. I felt the same way.
Yeah. And there was a lot of source material for The Walking Dead, so I don't think it's necessarily a copy. And you can look at the zombies themselves and see that they obviously had a different idea for what their various infections would do. I don't necessarily see that as a copy. It's coincidental, and maybe it was something in the zeitgeist. Oftentimes culture is downstream of what we see. In terms of what we see in entertainment, and they maybe were both just feeling similar vibes. Because I mean, I don't know if you knew this, but one of the scenes, the scene when they're in the grass in 28 Days Later, and they're like kind of it's the most jovial scene in the film. That was actually a very difficult one to film, because at the same time they had just found out that the Twin Towers have been attacked.
Mm.
Yeah, they began filming this before 9/11, so it's like, oh shit, like this movie's dead in the water.
Exactly. And that scene had been filmed at the same exact time. And so there is this somber, like cultural thing that I think, I look at films like No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood were battling for best film. I mean, there was this kind of weird inherent nihilism that had become very present in entertainment from that. And I think you can see that in both of these as well.
We always joke, and what's that from the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin, where he's like, the best thing's coming too. Like White Earp, Tombstone, Deep Impact, Armageddon, Walking Dead, 28 Days Later. We'll just say that.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, also really quick, Signs, the movie Signs, the first day they were filming was the day of 9/11, or maybe the day after. It was like September 12th. And it was just like, fuck. So they had to start filming that movie right then. And that I think they filmed in Jersey, I want to say.
But was this film the first dystopian film after 9/11? I know this came out in November of 2002.
Dystopian, maybe.
Yeah, probably, right?
Mm,
I mean, dystopian's a pretty broad
Sure.
genre, but I think The Road, when did The Road come out?
That was 2008. Yeah, it was after No Country for Old Men, but it was a Cormac. That was the same guy that wrote No Country for Old Men, the book.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was just saying this genre, it takes so many forms and so many shapes. It's hard to nail it down at times.
Yeah, but it still is such a sick opening. I mean, the fact that they were able to film in London, and just get those shots of just completely empty streets and a guy just walking through, I mean, past Big Ben, I mean, Piccadilly Circus, you get all of these iconic landmarks and there's no one there. I mean, it's crazy.
I read something where they had to film the scene where the double decker's on its side,
Mm,
and they literally filmed. They had 20 minutes to do that, and then move the double decker off the street.
yeah.
Like it must have been A, stressful, but B, exhausting to film this, because you're talking 2 a.m. wake up calls at the latest, and to get things done properly for like a 6 a.m. shot, like this movie was a tough one to make, no doubt.
Mm. And it's such a small budget too.
Yeah. I'm gonna rip through the stats right now. I do this every episode. Hold on, stay with me. Let me pull it up. It's funny too, Alec. I you know how I always take notes. I didn't take notes this time. I was watching the movie and I have one note. But this movie debuted November 1st, 2002. A little over a year after 9/11. Its runtime is an hour 53 minutes. Its budget is 8 million. This feels like such a bigger budget for the time too. Its box office was 85 million, Rotten Critics score 87, Rotten Audience score 85.
Mm.
Let's get those in the 90s. Like those are some of those scores if you ask me.
I mean, pretty 20 times, that's really good, dude.
I mean, it's really good, but like I'm like, that this movie deserves more.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely set the tone, but I did hear somebody online say that this movie is kind of like the Romero trilogy, the highlight reel of that. Where it's like the first one is The Night of the Living Dead. It's just about isolation. So it's like Cillian Murphy, he's isolated in the beginning. Dawn of the Dead is like when they get to go into the shops and kind of go crazy and go through everything. So when they get to the grocery store, the group that's supposed to represent Dawn of the Dead. And then Day of the Dead is like when they get to the military base and they have those philosophical conversations and stuff like that. And I'd never looked at it like that, but I was like, damn, I guess that is kind of true. Just the plot points that they hit. It does feel like three separate kind of movies.
Yeah, and in 2010, they redid the Romero film, The Crazies, as well, which The Crazies had this kind of hyper insane zombie type in it, where they were more fast and angry. And have you guys seen The Crazies, the remake?
No, we need to cover that. I feel like every movie you've mentioned is like we've covered
Kyle,
so
I'm
many
writing
movies.
down every movie you're listing right now, and I'm like, yep, that's on the next wheel. Yep, like love the list you're giving us right now.
I love that. That's awesome, man. Because I often, because I'm old now, I people will say movies I haven't seen. I'm like, it's because I'm old.
Well, have you seen Leprechaun 3?
I actually have. I've seen all the Leprechaun movies.
Then we trust you. You're in the nest.
No, but we do need to see that. So that is kind of zombie-esque, right?
Yeah, well, they're kind of the same rage type thing. I can't remember how they describe it, but they're faster zombies. They're more like insane, hyperactive. It's definitely not like you're slow walking. But it was also Romero. So when you said the trilogy, it reminded me that Romero himself is also, we consider him the godfather of the kind of the zombie genre. He himself has kind of covered a lot of different bases too. When you actually look at like the types of zombies he puts in his films.
Yeah, I know, because this one, it's like they're not zombies, but all of the tropes of zombies are there, and obviously
Mhm.
like the kind of survival and conversations, and then like as you were saying earlier, the humans are actually the real problem. Like that all becomes evident.
But it also brings it real, Alec, because it's like it's not undead. It's a
Right.
virus. It's a rage, and it's like I believe it in this day and age, especially after COVID.
I like that more because it's like they aren't undead. They're literally just humans that are the only thing they can experience is rage. So it's like that's what I never really thought about until this one. Like, so they're all conscious. Like they probably recognize where they are or things, but they're just so pissed off about everything.
Yeah, and then you see it through the eyes of Jim when he's naive and he feels bad for hitting the priest.
Right.
That's one of my favorite moments and a very harrowing moment in this film. Also, is that not the scariest scene in the movie when the two? Well, I'll just keep saying zombies even though they're infected, whatever. But when people listen, they'll know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember when he walks into the church and first it's just bodies, but then all of a sudden those two pop out and are just staring at him, and then the priest comes out? That was the scariest scene in the movie to me. I love that part.
Dude, when the guy like whips around, it's so like unnatural. Like before the priest comes up with that one guy that like he's like hello, and all of a sudden just like jerks. That was freaky as shit. Yeah.
I'll say this: it's been like a decade since I've seen this. I feel like, and like the two scenes I remember most, Kyle, is one is the scene you just mentioned with the church. I vividly like when someone says 28 days later, that's the scene, and then the scene with the eye drop of Brendan Gleeson.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those two scenes are like the what I think of first when I think of this movie.
I want to get to that scene because I'm potentially calling bullshit on it, but I'm gonna get to it. Yes, we see Killing Murphy, we see his penis, he gets up, he gets a Pepsi.
Some product placement. There's product placement with Pepsi in this film, no doubt.
That doesn't bother me, but I think if you're in a coma for like a month, I don't think you can just chug a soda. I'm pretty sure you need to like have like oatmeal.
Your kidneys will shut down instantly or something, right?
Yeah, but also you just covered Kill Bill, Kyle. I mean, to be fair, there's no way she's walking after fucking 14 hours after a 4-year coma. So it's a movie. We're having fun.
Yeah, if we're just leaving it up to filmmakers, there's a lot of interpretation to be had about what you can and cannot do when you've been in a coma for months.
Right, exactly. So wait, but we're having fun. So Killian Murphy and his penis, they're walking through the streets, and he's seen all the trash. Obviously, he probably thinks he's dreaming because it's like the only I actually I went to school in London, and when I was there in 2011 during the marriage of whatever the not Harry and Meghan, but the one before them, their wedding was happening when I was there.
Yeah, it was Kate and what's his name, right?
Yeah, Kate and William, maybe I don't know.
Charles or William? Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so dude, I'm telling you, the day of their wedding, the streets of London actually look like this. Nothing was open, nobody was driving. I remember walking outside and I was like, this actually looks like 28 days later right now.
That's amazing. I had the dumbest thought ever too when I saw Killian Murphy's penis. I was like, someday that penis is going to win an Oscar.
I thought the same thing. I was like, that penis deserves an Oscar. Yes.
I know it's so funny. Like I don't know. Like I'm wondering if Danny Boyle was just like, hey, so like you cool with like showing your dick? And he's like, do we need to? And he's like, I feel like it would add a lot to the scene. And he's like, all right, I guess. But hey, whatever. We're having fun. So then he gets to the church. We has the scene we just described. So he finally interacts with some of these undead, and then he just starts running, right? And that's when we meet the other two people that come out and save him, right? Or am I missing something in between there?
Yeah, there's a lot of walking in between, a lot of digging through trash. There's a lot of him just walking around, hollering, looking for people until that happens.
Oh, and he finds all the money, and he thinks it's like, fuck yeah, like I got all this money, and it's like, oh, yeah, this doesn't matter. But then, yeah, then he's saved by these two people, which I love this scene. Like, obviously, it's cool they saved him. They throw these Molotov cocktails. There's Selena and I think what was the other guy's name? Mitch or something? Mark. And they're throwing these Molotov cocktails. They save Killian Murphy, but then they like blow up a gas station. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is gonna like attract every fucking zombie in the entire world. I mean, but you know, it was fun to see.
Yeah, Mark was not long for this world. Like you kind of almost buy in that Mark's going to be a fixture in this movie, and he doesn't last long.
I know. I love this movie because, like, if you're watching it, you're like, "Oh, nice. These are the characters we're gonna be hanging out with." Oh, okay, he's dead. Then you meet Brendan Gleeson. You're like, "Okay, we got our group." And all of a sudden, he's dead. You're like, "All right, fuck, who am I rooting for here?" But we got Jim. So Jim's like our lead, and then he meets Selena. So yeah, Selena and Mark, and basically they kind of give him the rundown. Oh, the other thing is Killian Murphy. I'm gonna keep saying Killian, not Cillian. Killian has a big scar on his head, so that like leads us like, okay, like what's going on with this guy? And we find out he's just like a delivery guy who just got hit by like a car, right?
Yeah, it's actually a better story than Walking Dead, where you're a sheriff who was shot or whatever. I think it's like it brings it to like I can relate to this guy more even.
Yeah.
I'm just walking down the street and someone just hit me and I was in a coma. Boom.
Kind of has the I play guitar in a punk band look to it.
Kyle, don't be like that.
It's very interesting. It's a very nicely shaven side. It's definitely like Rancid. Do you ever go see Rancid in concert? It's definitely had that vibe.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting haircut. And like I do feel bad too, because later on he has to shave, but like there's not did he not have water? Or like what was he doing? He was shaving his beard with like a fucking straight razor and just cutting his face up, right?
He was not enjoying that.
Yeah. So he looks like crazy. He's got this haircut, his face all cut up, he's got half a beard. Yeah, he's not looking great. But you know what? You don't need to look good in this world, I guess.
He seemed almost more perturbed by the razor than he did by the infected.
But yeah, seriously, I mean, yeah, I love he was just like, ah, and he's screeching. The guy's like, "You all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, just cutting my face. I'm good. Like, don't worry about it." So then Jim, Killian Murphy, is just like, "Hey, like, I gotta go find my parents," and they're like, "Well, they're dead," and he's just like, "I gotta know for sure." It's like, not like they're definitely dead, and he's like, "Well, I think we should all risk our lives and go." So they go to his house, and they find his parents, and they drank themselves to death and took pills and I love how they leave. It's such like a video game moment how they wrote on the back of that picture, like we like Jim, you sleep like an angel. We're with you now. Don't wake up. Like I feel like they probably wouldn't do that, but hey, what are we doing? It's fun.
Yeah, it definitely was another trope too. This airwave, random airwave message, that you referred to.
Mm,
It's definitely something that got done, I think, a couple times in The Walking Dead too. This is a thing. Here we are 4 weeks after. That's one thing that always pops up to my mind is, this is 4 weeks after the collapse. I'm always wondering like how long before we divulge to this, like how long before humanity just collapses in this fashion? Is it 4 weeks? Is it 4 months? What is it? But 4 weeks was enough for this little military cult in the backyard of the woods to establish a radio airwave and look for slave women. I mean, this trope is pretty common, and I didn't mind it here because again, I think this is more of an original approach to it, but I think this is something that will grow tiresome in the genre eventually.
oh my God. Every video game. I mean, Eric, we just covered Bird Box. That's like half the movie is like we're following a radio. We don't know anything about it, but we're putting our entire faith into it. Like that's such a common trope nowadays. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Days Gone, the video game. Did you guys play Days Gone?
I didn't actually, I don't think. Is that a zombie game?
It is. Yep, same exact thing.
Yeah, I mean, Resident Evil, I heard heavily inspired this, and I don't think that's not really like that. That's usually like they get sent in, and to solve a mystery or something like that. They know about usually what's going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it is definitely a trope.
Yeah, but the suicide thing was also in Last of Us too. There's a whole episode dedicated to that with what's his name from Parks and Rec. Can't think of his name. Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
That whole episode reminds me of that scene in some ways. And yeah, what happens next? They stay there, and then the character we just met like dies, and then well because he gets infected, and then
When they're at Jim's house, you mean?
yeah,
Oh yeah, well he starts playing that video of like his family or whatever, and then his neighbors bust in, dude.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like that, I think is, I mean, obviously, he shouldn't have been playing that video or whatever, but the neighbors, they have enough of their conscience left to like stick around that area? So like, what are these things like when they're alone? Are they just kind of like in their house, like smashing the walls and then they hear something?
Probably like super sensory, just waiting to hear stuff like in the church, you know?
Yeah, because they need to sleep, and we see them sleep in the church, and they need to have water, and they have to have enough to survive until they starve to death. So like, it's so freaky, dude. But yeah, they're in the house. These two neighbors break in, and luckily Mark and Selena they kill them. But Mark, he didn't get bit, but it looked like his arm like got blood all over it. And then Selena didn't hesitate, and she fucking bashes his head in, and she tells him, "I wouldn't hesitate a heartbeat to do it to you either." So
Very convenient in this world when electricity is available and when it's not.
I was just thinking that too,
yep,
Kyle. I was like,
yep.
wait, how do you watch those videos? I couldn't find toilet paper or paper towels during COVID, but they got electricity in this world. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I agree with that, Kyle. Yeah, good point.
You're right. The grocery store and also the radio tower, like that's transmitting this, is that just running 24 hours a day?
Yeah.
Also, Brendan Gleeson just turning off and on lights all day. Like, is there a generator? Like, well, how do you have electricity during this time?
Well, also, where's everybody else in the building? They're the only two in that huge building that are alive. I don't know. It's kind of crazy,
And
but
yeah, and the electrical companies, they'd be the first to shut you off. They'd be like, "Hey, you didn't pay your bill on time. It's been 28 days. Like, we're cutting you off."
so they get to this building, they see Christmas lights, they go up the stairs, Selena and Jim, and they're being chased by zombies, and they get to the stairs, and then we see Brian, or not, what's his name, Brendan Gleeson in riot gear, and he's like, "Go back there," whatever. His daughter Hannah is in the room, she won't let them in, and then this guy bashes the zombies in. You think he'd be like, "Hey, could you guys help me with this? Like, we'll do it together," but he's like, "No, don't worry, you go, I'll take care of this." And does it, and they let him in, they're all hanging out. And I did like the scene where Brendan Gleeson's showing Jim the roof with all the buckets.
Yeah, that's one of the best scenes of the movie.
Yeah, I loved that scene, dude.
He's just a pissed off British guy, just like it's supposed to rain here.
No, that scene was, and then I love how like the next day when they leave, it starts to rain. He's probably like, "Fucking hell, like god damn it."
Yeah, exactly. That's what he was thinking. Exactly what he was thinking.
Yeah, I know, because if they had any water, you could just boil it. I mean, it'd probably be gross still. Yeah, but also, it's only been 28 days. You're gonna tell me that you didn't ransack every apartment in that building looking for bottled water? I don't know. Again, we're having fun. So they decide we got to get out of here because we don't have any water or food. Basically, we've only got this like shitty like liqueur that your mom left, and we're gonna die. So they're like, we got to follow this radio call where they're saying like we have the cure, all the classic tropes, and they go for a drive. Now, I like the drive scene, I like it, but that when they drove over like all those cars and everything like that, as a kid, I was like, this is fun. Now, as an adult, I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, this is insane. When they drove over all those cars,
Yeah, that was fun. It was a nice fun scene, but I don't think that car would make the climb or withstand the amount of damage that it took. But it was a pretty fun and interesting scene. Definitely a weird stroke of energy from Frank there because he's been relatively timid and he's obviously between this and when he gets pissed off and goes off by himself to get the blood drop in the eye. He's got this weird streak of random rage and energy that come out then and they don't usually help. They usually end up in flat tires and tunnels and his ultimate death. So
One thing I want to point out is like why are these streets so not clean, but just there's no other cars like
what are you
crashed.
talking about, dude?
I mean, yeah, but like Walking Dead kind of did that too, where it's just like a highway where it's just like open. It's like no. Could you imagine LA during something like this? Like there'd be shit everywhere on the highway.
You're saying on the actual when they're going to Manchester.
Yes, yeah, exactly. More like that, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like they probably should have CGI'd some shit, but that scene probably was ridiculous to have to film that too. To shut down both highways going into Manchester both ways, like that's gonna be crazy.
They probably had 10 minutes or something to just do it.
Yeah, so they drive over under this bridge. They drive over all this like debris and cars and stuff like that. One of their tires pops. It's like a fucking NASCAR pit team, dude. How fast they put that tire on too. Like when I was, I mean, how old is Hannah? Like 14? There's no way in hell I would know. I'd be like, okay, I can change this tire as zombies and rats are here. Like I don't think I could have done what Hannah did. I gotta give it to her.
Yeah, that was a little pit stop scene for sure.
She's definitely more mechanical than I am.
Oh my God, I was very impressed. And then they get away, and Jim's like, ha ha ha. And I'm like, are we really? We're laughing at this? Like, you guys almost died. But that scene, I love it. I mean, as ridiculous as it is, I do love it. And yeah, so then they get to Manchester. They see that it's all lit on fire, and they need gas. So they get to the gas station, and Jim's like, I need a hamburger. So he goes into the gas station, and he finds a kid, and he beats the kid to death, and then he leaves. But this is the scene, yeah, they start to let Hannah drive, they get the gas, and then now we're at the scene where you were talking about, Kyle, with the where he like gets in these fits of rage and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because he's kind of this comfort character. You know, he's kind of this teddy bear character, but he obviously has his own frustrations, and maybe it's this lack of ability to feel like he can actually protect his child. Obviously, they already lost the mom, and maybe that's just that feeling of desperation. And he's the one that led him on this pilgrimage, and at the moment he gets pissed off, it's because he doesn't think there's anything there. And sadly, the way he finds out there's something there is he gets shot by one of the people that he was seeking in the first place after he infects himself. So
Yeah.
a lot of irony built into this scene, and a little painful. I don't know how I felt about it, honestly, because I liked Frank as a character. At the same time, I'm like, damn, you had to kick the wrong door or the wrong gate at the wrong time.
I know. But it's interesting though, because if he did survive, the dynamic at the house would have been a lot different. I feel like he would have been very aggressive to protect his daughter, and he would have got shot by the military people, even if he had. And once he found out what their intentions were, I don't think he would have been calm at all. Like Jim was more calculated. He's like, I can sneak around and help these guys. I think Frank would have lost his shit.
That, and it shows the vulnerability of just all it takes is a drop of blood to take someone, a great character, out like this.
Right. Well, okay, so what happens in case anybody has made it this far and hasn't seen the movie? Yeah, so Frank knocks into something. There's like a bird pecking at a dead body, and then a drop of blood falls into Frank's eye and he gets infected. Now, that means that that guy was infected then, right?
Yes, yes.
Like, so who is that guy and how did he get up there? But the other thing is, I don't know obviously about this virus, but I think the sun like kills most bloodborne viruses and like air and stuff like that's why like AIDS can't get transferred through mosquitoes and shit like that. Would this work? I mean, I know it's not a real virus, but I don't know.
I mean, the body didn't look that fresh, but if it still has blood, that must mean it's only like 2 or 3 days old. Like, so it's not totally decomposed. So yeah, count it.
Yeah, and this takes a lot of the same liberties as the Alien franchise, and the fact that the aliens have acid blood, but some characters can shoot them at point blank range and be completely avoid the damage that comes from acid blood flinging all over you. Like in Aliens 2, that was pretty prevalent. But some characters would they would become the victim of the acid blood. It's kind of in this one too. It's like it's kind of amazing, like when Selena kills Mark and she's like right up in his business and cutting his arm off, and she doesn't get any blood in her eyes.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
Here we got a bullseye.
There's scenes like in the future where the rage people are getting blown up in a field and there's blood and guts flying everywhere and everyone else is fine. But this is just one of those situations where it's just like wrong time, wrong place, direct hit. And it's like, ugh.
This was destiny. Like Frank was supposed to die. Like the chances of this happening are so low, and it's like, yeah, something wanted you going, Frank. But yeah, unfortunately, he freaks out. He starts to attack his daughter and everything, and then the military people that they were looking for come out and just fucking go off on him. They just light him up. So he's dead, and then they all go into this big mansion where there's a military presence there, and it's actually pretty normal for a little while. Like there's food there, they're walking around, there's showers.
Yeah, and they're teaching them about the strategy. And they teach them like we're trying to learn how long it takes for these not creatures, but the infected to survive and starve to death so that we can hunker in. Once I know how long this person is, I'll give it 2 more weeks and then I think we're fine,
Right.
is the attitude. And it's like there's a light at the end of this tunnel if we can figure out they starve and go from there, which is a great strategy.
I agree with you. Eric, but I was confused because I was like, are they trying to make the captain look more like a bad person for doing this experiment here? Because I felt like the way he was playing it, because we haven't discovered yet that he's looking for sex slaves, right? Like that's not been uncovered yet.
No, that's not discovered yet.
So we still don't know how we feel about this guy, but the way he played it and the way maybe he was directed to act, I was like, are they trying to make him seem like a bad guy for running this experiment? Are they trying to say that he's torturing these people? Like, I didn't know if there was a message built into that scene.
Well, Kyle, I'll give you this. Alec, if I got infected and you need to know how long it takes me to starve, yeah, chain me outside and figure it out. I wouldn't put it past you. So I don't think that makes him a bad guy as much. He also has a couple lines like he was like one of my friends and stuff. And
Well, the thing is, they always do this in every zombie movie. Eventually, people start to get sympathetic and they have their wife tied up in the basement. They're like, they're gonna find a cure and I'll bring her back.
no, this guy is not thinking that. This guy's like,
That's what I'm saying. At this point in this movie, it's so new that they're like, hey, let's just see if how long this guy until he starves. But so many other movies, it's like my son is a zombie, but I will keep him until there's a cure. I think he's still in there. But we haven't reached that stage yet.
but it's also like you'd want to put him out of his misery too. There's that aspect of it. It's like if I ever turn, the old saying, like, if I ever turn into a zombie, like you know what to do.
That's the whole premise of that Arnold movie, Maggie, except it's a much slower infection. So he's like taking his daughter across the country to save her life, basically, but she's like on her way to becoming a zombie.
What the fuck? How have I not seen this one either? Jesus Christ. Maggie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
All right, add it to the list.
There you go.
But here's the thing, this guy that they have tied up, they said that they like knocked him unconscious, drugged him, and that's why they were able to tie him up or whatever. Cut his fucking, or no, maybe don't cut his arms off, but like tie his arms up at least. Like this guy, he's begging to get out and bite somebody.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna make him starve, like make him starve. Like I don't know. Maybe they want him to keep raging. I don't know.
Hell, they can even neutralize great white sharks in the ocean. I mean, you can't knock this guy out and then maybe tie his arms up. I mean,
Yeah. Like literally, like it's so easy for if like let's say like the chain was tied to the wall and the screw or whatever that was keeping it broke, he easily would get out and kill anybody. It's like a fucking cardboard box door, and he's got no protection on his hands or face. And I'm like, you guys are idiots.
Great foreshadowing though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the reason why all this shit goes down. So yeah, we find out then that after 28 days, these military guys are like, if I don't have sex, I'm gonna kill myself. So he puts out a radio broadcast telling people to come there. And then, yeah, when women get there, they're gonna, unfortunately become pregnant to repopulate the earth, I guess, is what their plan is. But what if there weren't women? What if it was just Cillian Murphy and Brendan Gleeson? What if it was just them?
You know the answer to that, Alec.
They'd just kill him?
No, they would probably do other stuff.
Okay, okay.
prison stuff.
Yeah, prison stuff. But the plan is that they want to repopulate the earth. It's like, guys, it's been a fucking month. Like, do we want to wait to see like what's going on first?
Like most people, like, well, what's that movie, 40 Days and 40 Nights with Josh Hartnett or
Yeah.
whatever? It's like at least give it like the length. Like you can hold out, but no, they're starting this up already at 28 days.
I gotta just say, this is a weird commentary, and obviously these statistics have changed dramatically since 2002 because obviously technology and COVID and the digital age and the way we communicate has changed a lot since 2002. But this is a very odd message to me that a month without sex, I'm killing myself, because the rates at which the rates at which men are having sex right now is at an all-time low. As we've seen the emergence of what they call the incel and all these things, like this is a situation that's actually plaguing society as we're not producing as many children anymore. I mean, like people are going long periods of time without having sex and not killing themselves. So it's a weird message that these guys, unless we just got the 4 or 5 horniest soldiers this side of Manchester, like these guys were just like swimming in it before everything went to shit. Like it's just a weird message.
You're not, yeah, exactly. Yes.
The only thing I'll say is I do think there's one line where he's like, they didn't see a future. Like they didn't see like that there was going to be any civilization left, and that was the only thing that they thought could maybe bring it back is like, but still, you're gonna kill yourself after a month.
Well, yeah, sex is great, but you're kicking it with your boys. I mean, yeah, if you can toss in some sex, great. But I mean, cigars, football. I mean, what were you doing before? You were hanging with your boys.
It sounds not that bad.
All Fortnite. I mean, yeah.
True.
No, it's true. So that's what's motivating this entire thing is these guys, all the military are bad guys, except for one guy. And he's like, we deserve this. We're the plague on humanity, which is also kind of a trope now. Yeah, so he's the only voice of reason and Jim, and he's like, yeah, no, this is fucked up what you guys are doing here. But nobody else cares. So they tie up Jim and the one private who's a good guy. And then there's the leader, Henry West. He's the redheaded leader. Basically, yeah, they make the girls get into these dresses. She gives Selena gives Hannah a drug, a Valium, I think, so that she's kind of numb to the situation. And they take Jim and this private out to the woods. And then what happens there?
Yeah, these for being suicidal from a lack of sex, they sure are making a thing about it, about the dressing up and the waiting. And I mean, there's no like, hey, dive right in. I mean, there's none of that. I mean, this is like, yeah, you guys are killing yourself, but you're still gonna wait.
Right, right. Or like, let's have a nice dinner, put on this dress, like we'll do a whole thing. But I mean, maybe they were thinking the women would be into it, but definitely not. But they take these guys out to the woods and they're like, yeah, let's kill them. And they're gonna fucking gut that soldier who's the good guy. They're like, I want to take this gun and just fucking deck this guy with a knife. And he shoots him, the other private shoots him, so Killian Murphy gets away, and I loved how he escaped. He just dives into the pit of dead bodies, and they don't see him. I thought that was brilliant. I love that.
Absolutely.
Jim then kills both of them, right? He gets the guns and kills them, and then there's just like a kind of a pretty hectic scene of just, it's raining and there's the soldiers trying to get with these girls or what they're doing, and then Jim sneaks in and frees the zombie they have tied up in the courtyard. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, one big thing, the music. In the House in a Heartbeat is the song that's playing throughout this movie, but the music is, I mean, it's probably one of the most underrated horror theme songs I can think of. You
Yeah.
know, the dun 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 dun. It's great. And it's a slow build up until the explosion at the end of the where shit's going off, and it's just genius.
No, you're so right. I'm glad somebody brought it up because it was definitely in my notes, like throughout the whole thing. And it's probably also just a composition they made for this movie. Like there's no needle drops.
It's just someone riffing on a guitar and coming up with the coolest lick ever and fitting it to this movie perfectly.
It's like explosions in the sky meets hell.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely there's definitely a lot of rough cuts here. Again, I love this film, but this is you mentioned it gets a little chaotic, Alec, and I kind of had a hard time keeping up. I actually had to fast forward or sorry, rewind and rewatch because I felt like I had missed something in these cuts. These cuts are a little crazy and the motion's a little crazy. And also Killian kind of or Jim going a little bonkers here. We hadn't really seen him exert this level. I mean, he could barely kill that boy in the gas station. Of course, that was a boy, so I could understand that, but a ferocity that he hasn't displayed yet, and he's on full display here. So you're wondering how he makes that leap.
His parents are dead. He has nothing. The world's a mess. And he's just like, this is my last moment, probably.
Well, he finds love, Selena and him.
For sure, but I think that's what all it is just like I'm gonna give it all for her and that's it.
But I love the scene too because he's freaking out. He's like literally murder. I mean, he's shoving his thumbs into people's eyes, and he's killing all these people. And Selena doesn't know if he's infected or not. I love that scene where he like steps out and he's just like, "It's me" or whatever, and or whatever that scene is. But that's to your point, Kyle. Like he's so angry and killing these guys that it blurs the line if he's affected or not.
Maybe before his accident, like his favorite like football team lost and he's just a pissed off Brit. You never know.
It's definitely a possibility.
Terrible take. Terrible take.
So I mean, we don't know. But I mean, I think it's because, Selena and Hannah are about to get raped by these guys. I'm pretty sure that's what's setting them off, but
Yeah, that's what it is.
She's so young, and it's super uncomfortable for me. I mean, obviously, I understand that in this world, if this was a reality, it would divulge to this. But as a dad, two girls, super uncomfortable, obviously, and I think that was the vibe they were trying to give you. You're not supposed to enjoy this moment, so
No shit. Yeah.
a good way to look at it through Killian's eye. Like, hey, if this is my last gasp, protecting a young one, that's a good way to go out.
Yep. I think that was a lot of it.
And not to get into the sequel too much, but like the protagonist in this one, Jim, is actually a good guy. Like he doesn't do anything wrong. And then the protagonist in the second one, he starts off the movie by fucking over his wife. And like you're just like, wow, it's a pretty big difference between. I guess he's not the lead in the second one, but the main guy, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great point to go into the second one, which we covered a long time ago. But
Yeah,
yeah, what a change in character of the main, you know.
yeah. But Jim is a good guy, so he kills.
He likes Alec. He likes Pepsi. Come on.
Sure.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But so Selena, Hannah, and Jim, they escape. They kill most of the guys. The zombie gets out. He kills a bunch of people. That one scene I did like actually is when that guy's under the bed. He probably is like, okay, I'm actually gonna escape. There's no way they're gonna just run in here and tear the bed out. And immediately that's what Cillian Murphy does. I love that. Zombies kill him. They escape, but then they get to the car. For some reason, they're gonna let Hannah drive, who is the youngest and on Valium, but whatever.
Yeah, seriously, she's on volume too. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's going to the car because the door that she's going to would be the passenger side America, but they're in England, so she's getting into there to drive. And the redheaded guy, Mark West or whatever, Henry West, I think is his name. He then opens the door and just shoots Cillian Murphy. I forgot about that. And then they get into a big fight with the zombie and everything, which is fun. And then the ramming of the gate. That was also, I was like, fuck, does the movie end here? I couldn't remember. And I want to know how they got out of that situation, but we cut away.
Some precise ramming there.
Yeah, because they just are, they're driving at this gate that has a big chain on it, and they smash in, and it just freezes, and then it's like 28 days later, and you're like, that's it.
Mhm.
That's all it is.
That's not it. That's not it, though. That's not it. We go to 28 days later after this. Oh wait, there's one other thing earlier in the movie. Cillian Murphy sees the airplane flying overhead.
Oh yeah, like chemtrails and stuff, and he's like, "No, there's people." Yeah, this is a huge part of the movie. Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's probably another reason why he goes back to save them too, because he's like, wait, it's not the whole world. Like, there's clearly that's a commercial airline up there. It's clearly there's still civilization. We should fight for our survival, you know?
But you forget that like Britain's an island, Ireland's an island, and so would the rest of the world cut you off?
Yeah, for sure.
Damn, that's what happened.
Yeah, I think they talk about that too. Some of the soldiers talk about, or not the soldier, but the guy that's kind of like they don't really talk about that character much. But he was kind of having hysteria while Killian was out there. The guy that was talking about, think about it. They quarantined us. He's kind of talking to himself. Who's the guy? He's kind of having like a psychotic breakdown. But he's like, they quarantined us. This is a great question you bring up because this is not a virus that's going to make it overseas because it goes so fast. Like if you get it at the airport, you're not going to make it to the airplane because 20 seconds later you're going to be infected.
Yeah, yep, yeah, yeah. So it's not like COVID where it's just like, oh, I'm asymptomatic and I can travel and no one knows and I'm coughing a little bit. No, this is like you have 10 seconds. This is a good example of a epidemic that's instantly. It's not, and they could shut off everything, and which is what happened to Great Britain.
Yeah, I mean, there is the Channel, which goes into France, and then at the end of the second one, they do ride a helicopter with that asymptomatic kid, and then we do see that it's spread to Europe. But we will find out in 28 years later, that comes out this year, so we'll find out what actually happened. Did it spread worldwide? What happened? But yeah, the movie does end though with them at this house, basically a cottage. They've taken all of the curtains, all of the sheets and everything, and they've turned it into a big hello, and they see a plane that keeps flying over. It's like a jet, and they see that there's people there.
But also that the infected are finally starving to death too. We
Yeah,
see those scenes.
right.
So we've reached the point where the people that are alive have survived and have made it to the 28 or 56 days later now.
I don't know how I feel about this ending. I went back and forth on it. Like we end on a really high note. Selena's smiling, and they seem to be pretty chipper about the whole thing. I don't know what it means, honestly. I was kind of, I don't know. I think it would have been, the trope would have been for it to end on a dour note of, where it's not over and we have a long road to hoe. But seeing these people smiling too is a little weird. I don't know how they could have landed the plane, honestly.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but I think you're right. You would expect it to end on like something, some bullshit.
How Planet of the Apes ended, the new one, like where it's like, oh, it's spread.
Yeah, I mean something, but I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it, and then especially if you see the sequel, you're like, oh no, 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 they're fucked still. Yeah, but you're right though. It is kind of an odd ending for the way this movie's been set up, where it's like everything sucks, and then the ending's like, okay, maybe it'll be okay. Maybe we got this.
And now we have 28 years later, which is, I mean, it is 28 years later almost. Not really, you know what I mean? But like it's been 25 years since the original, so it's like, damn.
Yeah, if this one does well, I guarantee you they're gonna make prequels and like
28 hours later was just chaos.
it'll turn into like The Purge or The Quiet Place. They'll have prequels, sequels, movies that happen side by
Like
side.
I want Lilo and Stitch 28 days later in Hawaii. Instead of Great Britain, make it Hawaii. And a volcano erupts at the same time. It's like, oh my God, like a volcano we forgot about.
Yeah. Well, you've seen the sequel, Kyle?
I have, yeah, yeah, and it's fine. It's good. It's got some. You can tell they pumped the star power into it with Renner and Idris Elba's in there. The problem is when you start to blow up the IP into a larger scope with more money, with more more celebrity power, it does lose some of that smallness that made this really interesting and special. It leads to some of the things like, oh, they have electricity here. Yeah, that's not a big deal. Like a really small scale movie. I can get over that, but when they blow up the franchise and make it a bigger scale thing, this 28 years later is going to be a much bigger one too. It loses some of that small town, feel to it, some of that early Alex Garland feel too. So, I think they could have left it here. Honestly, I'm kind of an anti-franchise guy, especially with superhero movies. I do love a lot of sequels, but this is one I think they could have left alone. But that's just me.
Yeah, Kyle, but it made 10 times the budget, so they're gonna make another one.
That's true.
But it's surprising they haven't made it already, to be honest, because like the second one did pretty well, and then they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just put this on ice for the next like 19 years almost.
Crazy to think about.
I'm very cautiously optimistic. I'm kind of similar to you. Like I hate remakes and I think when a series has reached its limit, let it go. But I did like Blade Runner 2049. I like Tron Legacy. So like when they take large gaps and they become more aware of what they are, the impact they've made and the place that they fit into society now, I want to be optimistic. And this is the movie I'm looking forward to the most this year. So I hope it's good, but I don't know. It might suck.
There's that, but also it's I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like one of the most watched YouTube trailers of all time.
Trailer's really good.
So there's definitely people that want this film, and there's a lot of money behind it, and I think it's gonna be good. I don't know. It can't be bad. Could it be bad, Kyle? Could it be bad?
It could be an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
The good news is, if you love the first one, Alex Garland did not write the second one. They did bring him back for the third.
Nice. I mean, I do like the second one. I like this one better, but I do like the second one a lot.
I like the second one too. I do like the second one, Kyle. I'm sorry if I broke your heart. We like the
Oh,
second one.
oh,
We like the second one.
no, you're not gonna break. I'm in your territory. I'm in the territory of the wheel.
No, but like I love that you're like you see this movie and you're just like, this is perfect. Leave it. And then they make the second one. You're like, I wish they didn't. And that's kind of cool to hear.
It's kind of like when you saw the band, and you always hear these old guys say like, I saw them when they were nobody. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Take the load off, Fanny.
It is so annoying because it's one of those things where you love it so much. But I mean, like that's the thing. Like I always mention Twin Peaks, but I'm like, I love Twin Peaks so much. They could have left it alone. And then the third season came out and it was incredible. So I don't know. Sometimes it works. Sometimes.
Yeah.
More often than not, it doesn't. But we'll see.
They're doing it with a lot of IP. My wife is a huge Gilmore Girls fan. I am not, but she was like, she was like, when they decided to try to give it that good old college try a couple years ago and reboot it like 20 years later, just really disappointed. It's really interesting watching folks take IP and not just reboot it, but like years later, like try to like get just like a weird second wind when you've given enough time to lapse that generations of people don't know what the property is anymore.
Yeah, I know.
God damn, we have a Gilmore Girls reference. These I love it. That's Shannon's one of my wife's favorite shows.
But isn't that in Connecticut, Eric?
It's based off of like a Connecticut town.
Pride of Connecticut. All right.
It's a fake town, but if you're off on your own, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that theme. Just like, can we not play this right now?
If you lead, I will follow.
Here we are, Wheel of Horror, baby. Love it.
This is horror. Gilmore Girls, Jesus Christ. Yeah, this honest, I feel like we pretty much picked this movie apart really well. So, do you guys have any last minute thoughts before we wrap up?
No, man, just thank you for having me. This was a blast. I was so glad I got to pick dibs on this one. This was a real fun one. And like I said, I've really loved the show since I've crossed you guys a few years back. And yeah, I love seeing you guys do well. I was honored to be here today.
Hey, thanks a lot, Kyle. And yeah, people check out Movie Wars, and where can they find that? Just like everywhere?
Yeah, everywhere, man. We're on every streaming platform. Movie Wars podcast on Instagram, TikTok. I'm super active over there, unfortunately. Just don't wish me brain cancer like some of these other folks have been. But if you're nice, I'll talk back to you.
Yeah, god damn, that's fucked up. Yeah, people be nice to people.
TikTok is the Wild West, but yeah,
Sure.
just everyone be kind to each other out there.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, what do you say you spin the wheel?
Let's do that. Give me a second, Alec.
While he does that, I know you could never do this without paying the royalty fee, but I wish you guys could also have the song by White Zombie, Creature of the Wheel, being your theme song.
Throw it on there. What are they gonna do, Alec? Throw it on there.
Why not? Let's do it.
Have you heard that song? It's so badass.
It's called by White Zombie. What is it?
Creature of the Wheel.
I know that song. Yeah, that's Rob Zombie's band, right?
Every time your logo pops up on my Spotify app, when you drop an episode, I instantly think of Creature of the Wheel.
Okay, I'm gonna at least put it on for the Instagram story. I'll put that song on here, and we'll see what happens.
All right, I'm gonna spin that wheel. Little Shop of Horrors. Is that the Rick Moranis one?
Yeah, it's from I think '86. So we'll explain what we're replacing funny games with this. We'll have Zach Simpson on as a guest, and we'll explain on that episode why. But anyways, Kyle, thank you so much again for coming on here. We really appreciate having your insight, and we'd love to have you on again in the future if there's ever a film you want to cover.
I'd be honored, and I hope to have you on Movie Wars.
Yeah, that'd be really fun, dude. I love Kill Bill, so I just saw you guys covered that. So if you're ever doing Quentin Tarantino, I'd love to jump in for that.
You got it. I'd love to have y'all.
Hey, all right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening in today to our discussion on 28 Days Later, and we'll see you next week with Little Shop of Horrors.
Woo!